Hello and welcome to the Rat Nest Podcast, episode number 57 with Jason Riley.
Take two.
Because we had the air on like savages.
Dummies.
I mean, 93 degrees.
It is hot out there.
I didn't even think about it, man. And I was like, why are you so quiet? And it was just humming behind me. I was like, oh, shit.
I didn't know if that would, I was going to say something, but I wasn't sure. You know, I'm not a sound guy.
No, that was all my bad. These
mics aren't that, sensitive, but they will pick up that.
Oh, yeah.
Like it would have been super
it's a
obvious.
Constant drone in the background.
Oh, yeah.
So as we were just talking about, Jason here owns J Riley Distillery and Restaurant here in Redlands, California, and has been producing some of the finest local spirits for the last 5 years.
It's been longer than that, but I think I'm the only local spirit, so I wouldn't say it's the finest.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
By
you
local,
could say it's
I
the
mean
finest, the
California.
only one.
Yeah.
I'm not even talking just like microclimate,
okay.
but
yeah. California, we're here with the California distilleries.
You got some California buddies doing some cool stuff.
There's some great distilleries in California.
Award-winning spirits too, right?
Yeah, the bourbon got some awards in there. California Clear, which is not here today.
Hell yeah, we'll definitely talk about that.
Those.
We're going to talk about that for sure. So today we just kind of wanted to run through. I want to pick your brain a little bit about starting the business and starting distilling and kind of how you got into it, as well as what it's come to now and what you're focusing on with the releases and the expansion that you've been doing with this new project.
Okay, yeah. As far as a start, it started out as a hobby. Got a little 5-gallon alembic, little copper still. Didn't know what I was doing. I was like, oh, you just cook this stuff up and you heat it up and do this thing, and it would ferment a little bit, get like 3% alcohol. I'm like, man, this isn't really working out for me. So I kind of learned how you kind of got to learn the process of making beer from like corn and rye and barley. Same exact process. You heat it up, you set different temperatures, you get the enzymes to react, things like that, the malt, all that stuff. And, it was, for me, it was just a journey of like a hobby, and then a few years into it, my cousin was making some whiskeys and stuff at home, and I contacted him in like 2008, 2009. He sent me like this packet of like science text, and I'm like, wow,
yeah.
I'm too dumb for that. So let me figure out a different route. I read through it. It had some intriguing stuff. But I kind of stumbled around in the dark, not knowing anything. Back in that time, I didn't see a lot of YouTube videos of other guys distilling. Like today, you Google distilling or look up YouTube videos on distilling. There's like thousands of videos.
Everyone's got a channel.
Yeah, so everybody's like kind of, I think, picked up on the whole spirits, the craft spirits movement, things like that.
Right.
I think
the craft beer wave had a lot to do with that too. People getting into artisan kind of styles of what they're eating and drinking.
Yeah, and the laws for beer and wine are a little more lenient as far as like self-distribution, things like that. But I just learned my process, and I thought, what can I make that's unique? So I started out with blue corn, get it from New Mexico. It's a roasted blue corn. We double pot distill it and age it in barrels.
Were you blending that? It's got to be 51, right? To start off, you're starting at base, or were you doing 100% blue corn like Balcones or like those guys? No,
we do. I did start out with 100% blue corn, and then I switched it to 80%, and now we're down to 60%. It's 60% blue corn, or 65%. Sorry, 65% blue corn, 30% rye, and 5% barley.
And that's the base for the bourbon.
Yeah. So, but what you're gonna have today, I've changed the recipe. Today's recipe is 80% blue corn, 20% rye.
Hell yeah.
Or sorry, 20% barley.
I like that sweet and heat that much corn gives to it.
Yeah.
I know it's not for everyone. It depends, how it's balanced, but
yeah, and the blue corn just does something different than normal yellow corn or anything I've ever tried. And I just wanted to make the most American type of bourbon I could. And since blue corn was from like this indigenous to the United States kind of area, New Mexico, parts of Texas, things like that. Yeah. So I was like, I want to do a blue corn. That
wild corn. My grandma used to grow it when I was a kid. She had blue corn like growing in her backyard.
And it's good.
And I didn't even think about it, like how cool that was. Now I'm adult. Like now that I'm an adult, I'm like, oh, I wish I would have been more into that as a kid, like to know
understood what it was. Yeah,
I remember like in the early 2000s, I think blue corn chips started coming out. And I was like, this is cool. It's not yellow, but I mean, it tastes pretty much the same. But
I remember when you first opened up, when you were over at your old location, when you were just in like the warehouse, before you expanded that to the tasting room and everything, I went in and had the 100% blue corn, and I had never I never knew anything about whiskey. Like if it was yellow corn, blue corn, Maker's Mark, Jim Beam, I had no idea. And I went in there and tasted it, and the sweetness or like the flavor profile that blue corn gives. Yeah. That's totally what got me interested in whiskey. I'm not going to lie. Like, really? Holy crap, this tastes completely different than anything that I've ever had. There is if there's more whiskeys out there with these wild profiles, I need to taste them. And dude, that seriously sparked like now years long like love for whiskeys and scotches.
And that's the things I want to do here in Redlands. I want to teach people, like show them, a lot of people like, I don't like whiskey, or maybe they don't like gin. I hated gin for a long time, Mm-hmm. But if you can craft something, make it smaller, put a little more heart and soul into it instead of mass production. Absolutely. I'm not saying those guys are bad. They do what they do, and they're great at it. They're making way more money than I ever will, probably. But, it's kind of like the beer. People say, I don't like beer. Well, you don't like Budweiser, or you don't like Coors? Is that what you don't like? So when you try like a West Coast IPA, do you like that? Oh, okay. Now there's flavor. There's a citrus note to it. There's some different amount of hops and things like that. So that was my goal with crafting spirits, to kind of, I guess, teach people that you don't have to turn away from whiskey. It doesn't have to burn. It doesn't have to hurt. It doesn't have to be a bad experience. Because when we're teenagers, we're out there like, oh yeah, he's got a bottle. We're all getting drunk. It
doesn't matter what it tastes like.
And you go chase it down with some soda.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wow, this is really rough stuff, but I want to get drunk because I'm a
kid. Yeah.
Like, this is what adults do, or I don't know what it is.
Heavy and quick.
Yeah. So that's cool that you tell me that story, because that's my goal with this. Is to get people to understand, like, you can have a great spirit and you don't have to turn away from it. You can drink it neat.
For sure.
Make a great cocktail.
Yeah. The name of the alcohol in the cocktail, it doesn't need to like force you away or say, oh, I don't like whiskey or gin, like you were saying. Like, try it all, because now I've opened up my palate and stuff since then. Yeah. And it to all kinds of alcohols. You know what I mean? And I've had some gin that I can't drink, and then others it's like the floral notes in it. Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, how did I not know about this before?
Exactly.
And gin's pretty volatile into like what botanicals they use in the recipe, right? So you can get, really heavy juniper based gins, and you get more like, I don't even know, like a fruit forward, like a cucumber, like a Hendrix gin. Is completely different. It could be the same style of gin technically, but the flavor has a huge range. And I think whiskey obviously does as well.
Whiskey does.
Bourbon, I mean, there's finite things to be called bourbon, but once you get past that and you include those in how you distill and the ingredients you use, you can do a lot of different stuff to tweak that flavor.
Yeah, it's ingredients, distillation process, the type of yeast strand you're using, how long you age it or don't age it, how fast you distill it. Do you run it through a column reflux still, or do you run it through a pot still?
Right.
I do pot still because that's like the American tradition.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
2 times through a still, and you get that flavor profile. It keeps a little bit of the corn notes, and you can taste some of that, the different ingredients that were in the grain. And to me, it just tastes better. It leaves a lot of flavors behind.
Yeah.
Instead of removing them closer to like a neutral grain spirit or a grain neutral spirit, whatever, for vodka, which we don't have here today. But to me, all vodkas taste the same. They're just stripping all the flavor out of the spirit, and you get alcohol left behind.
That's right.
So I'm not really a vodka connoisseur. Like, they're like, do you have a preference? I'm like, just vodka, whatever's in the well.
If I'm drinking vodka, it's I don't care what it is.
Yeah, because vodka is so pure, whatever it touches,
it should taste like nothing, right?
Yeah, and it kind of, whatever it touches, if you put it in strawberries, it starts to taste like strawberries. Right. Or if you put bourbon and strawberries together, it still tastes like bourbon with strawberries in it.
Good point. You know what I mean? Real good point.
Where vodka will absorb all that flavor and that color.
It's almost
strawberry, and then you'll taste nothing but strawberry. And you're like, this is the smoothest,
Right, because the neutrality of it, it just, like you said, it's going to take any of those characteristics that it touches.
Yep.
Whereas instead of like with a whiskey, it would build a third level to that. A third, no, it's all good. A third flavor profile to what you're drinking if you mix it with something.
Correct.
Right? Like so this creates this.
That's why a screwdriver is good. It just tastes like orange juice, and you get an effect of like, I'm feeling pretty good now.
Yeah. That's right.
Or a mimosa, right?
Yeah.
So, today you brought moonshine. You got the 1775, which was kind of your flagship whiskey, right? Because I have a batch one, bottle 550 something.
Yeah, we don't even make that anymore.
It's the taller bottle. It's completely different. Has the recipe changed, or is
the recipe is different? On that one, it was 99% yellow corn, 1% barley.
Okay.
And then we're gonna do another batch of that and age it for 5 to 7 years. So
Sick.
Oh, all right.
we'll do like 4 barrels of that,
Nice, dude.
and then we'll release it. So I'm gonna start doing that once a year. So every year you'll have a new release of limited bottles.
Awesome.
But yeah, that stuff is really, really smooth.
Yeah,
And so
super. It reminded me almost when I first drank it. I was just getting into whiskey when you guys first kind of opened up. I was working at a craft cocktail bar that focused on prohibition style cocktails, so I was kind of just diving into that world. But I was getting introduced to all these different things like Japanese whiskey and the little subtleties and how light that is.
Yeah.
And not that the flavor profile's the same in the 1775, but there's something about that lightness of the grain to it. It struck me in that similar way.
Yeah.
Which is really like easy to drink and sip and enjoyable while you sip it, you know?
Yeah. You can just relax with it. But the recipe has changed now. It's 75% yellow corn, 21% rye, 4% barley.
Okay.
So
Now, are you coming up with your own recipes and like kind of adjusting as you go and making it like your own flavor profiles? Like how are you kind of putting your Jason Riley thumbprint on your whiskey that you're making?
the recipes, like 1775, that's a very common recipe for whiskey. So I tried it and I liked it, and I was like, oh, I'll just stay with that. The blue corn has been my idea the whole time. Like,
Okay.
I was like, okay, we'll do 100%, and that was really good. But changing it to 80-20 just to get a little more bite on the back end with the barley, you know. And then now the 65-35, I like that a lot more.
Kind of found its happy place there.
Yeah. And we just started producing that recipe, the 65-35, this year. So that's actually it's something new we're doing. So it's not going to be ready for 2 to 3 years. So,
Oh, okay.
Dude, how is that working with whiskey too? Because it's all based on the future.
Yeah.
You know, you're making this stuff, but really to be considered what you want to put it out as, you have to wait the 3 years at least.
Yeah, you can know about 40% of the way with whiskey when you double distill it. So the second distillation process, you can taste if it tastes good or not.
That's
you
the
tell
key moment.
This is going to be good once we add the caramel notes, the vanilla notes, the color, you know, all the barrel notes that you get from that. Because about 40% of your flavor is the yeast strand, the way you distill, and the ingredients you use.
The actual build of it.
And then 100% of your color, even though there's some guys out there that add color or add flavor afterward.
Right, should be from the barrel.
Yeah, I think it should be from the barrel. So
Definitely.
you get 100% of your color, at least you should, in my opinion, and then 60% of your flavor is probably from the barrel.
Okay.
Because you're going to pick up on the caramel notes and maple brown sugars and things like that. So
That's what I love out of bourbon, like
the barrels.
the barrels.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's a reason
They're magical.
Buffalo Trace has been doing it as long as they have.
Forever.
And, you know, they sit on a million barrels and they got honey pots. They got barrels that are just going to be better than anything because they've had the time to mature.
Yeah, they've been doing it for, 200 years?
Yeah, something crazy. I don't know.
I think they were the only one of the. I think there was 4 or maybe 5 distilleries that were allowed to stay open for medicinal purposes.
Yeah, through Prohibition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Buffalo Trace.
They
was one
just
of
like
them.
rebranded everything as medicinal.
This is
That's
medicinal. Oh, you got a
awesome.
cough? Here's a half a fifth of whiskey.
Take 2
I'd be
and
sick
call me
every day.
tomorrow.
Yo, why aren't the doctors
This
prescribing
cough
me
is
this
not
stuff?
going away, doc. I think I need some more of that.
Chronic bronchitis.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Shit, let's get into something, man.
Yeah,
Let's,
if we can, let's try some of these. Which
let's
order
pick
do you
your
want to
brain
go in?
about what you want to do here.
Let's do light to dark here. So
Perfect.
We'll do, and we'll finish with the gin because it's such an odd. You know what I mean? Like these are all kind
right.
of sisters and brothers.
Those will build.
This kind of stands alone on its own. So we'll start with the moonshine. This is a sugar mash. If you guys want to pour you a little bit here.
Yeah, just
It's a
little
sugar
baby
mash.
bits. I'm gonna get hammered, dude.
That is, it's double pot distilled, and then I put in a 250 gallon batch of mash. I put 40 pounds of peaches and let it ferment in there with it. So it's all that sugar from the peaches as well.
Oh, okay.
And you kind of on the nose, you get a little sweet peach.
A little
nose
bit,
on it.
huh? Yeah.
just a very
Because
subtle-
I'm looking for it. I
Yeah.
know it.
but
yeah.
you'll get it.
That sweetness is there.
Yeah, and I like to sniff the whiskeys.
Yeah, that sweetness it lends itself. I mean, it's pretty typical to the moonshine too.
Yeah, and what it does is it kind of like, for me, why I did the peaches, it kind of tones down the harshness.
A little bit of that like alcohol.
The alcohol that you get from like granulated sugar, is a little harsher. It's a little harder on the palate. And that's why moonshine usually people are like, whoa, you know.
Yeah.
So it kind of tones it down, but it's
using the natural sugar from the peach.
Yeah, so the fructose from the peaches kind of tones it down.
Now, when you're sourcing fruit or you're sourcing ingredients, do you work individually with farmers, or is it kind of like a general regional warehouse type of thing? Or
my grain, as far as the peaches go, we'll get them from people's backyards here in Redlands sometimes and stuff like that. There's tons of fruit trees in this town.
Absolutely.
So I get a lot of oranges from people just to use at our bar. You know, lemons, Myers lemons, things like that, because there's so much fruit in Redlands.
There is.
But these peaches here were from my buddy Brian, and they're pretty good. So, nice. But it's 100 proof moonshine, 750 milliliter bottle, 50% alcohol. But I think it's got some decent flavor.
It has the heat of the moonshine that you think it's going to have. As far as sorry, I didn't mean to jump in front of you guys, but I figure if one of us had it, we could go back and forth a little bit. It has all that heat, but it's on the back end, and it's extremely smooth.
Yeah,
it does not. It's not harsh tasting at all.
It doesn't turn your head away.
No. Like I could literally sip on this, and I'm not like a big moonshine drinker. Even though
me neither.
I get why people like it. I get the fun of it. Especially my brother lives in North Carolina, and the history of it and stuff there.
Yeah.
It's completely different than it would be on California. So I get it, but it's not my favorite. But this is delicious.
Yeah,
this is very good.
You could sip on it.
Yeah. Super approachable for a moonshine.
It's got the bite of a moonshine 100%. And like the heat, of 100 proof.
100 proof. It's got a lot of sweetness to it, though.
But yeah, that sweetness washes it over.
Those peaches.
Yeah, it's almost like it sands off those sharp points of that, that heat.
Gives it a little body too. I think it helps have it roll back, a little different mouthfeel, viscosity.
The way it feels on your tongue, I think, is from the peaches. It doesn't just flash away. It kind of sits there, little rest. You can feel a little heaviness on the tongue.
Absolutely.
It's not light and going away.
Yeah.
Some alcohols it doesn't leave your tongue dry,
Yeah, it's not that strong. I don't know if it's ethanol or what, but that real hot alcohol where it dissipates really quickly, but it's severe burn on the front end.
Yeah,
it's not like that. You get all the sweetness, and then you get some of that heat on the back.
Yeah, so the peaches dance well with it. It makes it just that much smoother. I like, and then when you took your first drink, you can pour some more if you want, but I always sip a little bit. And then you always get a second glance. And with the second glance, it just gets even better.
That's what I noticed on that second one. My mouth was it was past the shock, you know what I mean, of that first sip.
So you acclimated to it. Yeah. And your body's like, oh, okay, we recognize this. This isn't bad. We're not going to throw up.
Yeah, I've done this before. Yeah, exactly.
And that's why I don't want to do shots anymore. I was just in town for an art show like a week ago, and we went out to the bars afterwards. And the bartender bought me a shot, and of course I'm going to do one with him or whatever, It's not going to be rude and send it back. I mean, come on.
Free. But, my favorite alcohol is always free. You know what I mean?
So, but I mean, doing that it's not good. It's never good, no matter what you're shooting.
Your body always reacts abruptly to it. So
like, it could be the best stuff.
Yeah. It could be a $10,000 glass of whiskey, and if you shoot it, it's going to be like, ugh.
Oh, totally.
So I always try to just coat my tongue enough to just get the flavor and swallow that. So a glass, I think a glass of whiskey should last you 45 minutes to an hour.
If you're just a couple ounce pour, just sipping on it.
Just 2 ounces, and you just kind of, just enough to coat the tongue and get the flavor and enjoy it, You'll get the effects. It's the same as drinking a beer in an hour, which nobody does, but, But, yeah, that's our moonshine. I like it. It's got a really good... creaminess to it. On the tongue.
I like it because it tastes like what moonshine should taste like. It doesn't feel flavored or anything. I know, like I said, my brother's back on the East Coast, and a lot of the companies, they do heavy flavored, sugary moonshines.
Yeah, I didn't want the syrup. I don't like all the syrup stuff.
It doesn't. Maybe it makes it more approachable, but it doesn't make it taste any better. No. You know what I mean?
It tastes like syrupy or chemically.
Right. Like it's like a flavored vodka. I don't want it. Don't dress it up for me. I'm not going to like it anyways.
Well, and there's something to be said about like traditionalism. You know what I mean? Like that's not the way that it was done. They didn't add all that crazy processed sugars. It was back in the day when moonshine was, prohibition era. They used whatever the fuck they could to sweeten it up.
They would probably just throw their backyard peaches in there.
Yeah, whatever fruit was kind of rotting away.
A mason jar, get all the flavor out of it that way. But throwing in syrups because there's so much.
Just seems a little insincere.
Yeah.
It seems like, come on.
Well, maybe it's just trying to mask how bad the original alcohol
actual
is.
product
the
is.
real
Yeah,
product
I don't know.
is.
And I'm not saying
They
that.
do a product for X amount of money, and they
And
got
then they
to,
market it right, and bam, people are drinking it.
That's
you know?
right.
you know, that's a lot more spirits than I think people even realize until they have something better.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, that's a real. I always drink this brand, and I'm not gonna just sit here and shit on brands because I don't believe. You know, more power to them if they're making money.
Look,
But until you have something better, you're
It's-
not gonna know that what you're drinking is trash.
it's the reason Fireball tastes like cinnamon. You know what I'm saying?
Garbage.
Yeah, it's not good whiskey, but they just throw all of this flavor in there. Why do you think you get such a terrible hangover?
And you
from
get
it?
all the reps and
All the-
promoters like
yeah.
repping it, and everyone gets behind it, and it's a movement. You know?
Yeah, it is,
I've
and now
seen it happen.
it's a
Thank you,
staple
sir.
everywhere for some reason.
It's crazy.
So this is our 1775. I call it that because I was in the Marine Corps, and we call it the more than a whiskey in American spirit. You know, 1775 is a big year for the Marines. You can look it up on Google or whatever. You know, it's the year we were born. You know, November 10th, 1775. So we would sing cadences when we would march or run and
Right.
do all that stuff. And
The history is around that.
So it's sorry, it's part of my kind of like my little heritage of my life, you know. And I like, you know, we got little Minuteman on there, you know.
Yeah.
Started beating the Brits up, and you know, by 1776 we threw our middle finger up and said we're done with you. So
That's right.
but no, that's the name behind it. 1775 is kind of an homage to the Marine Corps and, you know, the fighting spirit of America,
American
which I still
history,
believe
yes.
in. I still believe in that. You know,
Absolutely.
That makes me wrong. I don't want to be right.
Thank you
but-
for your service.
Yeah, you're welcome. My son's now a Marine, which is cool. So
Right on.
drink
Proud
to
dad.
Jeremiah.
Salute.
That's who
Salute.
the bourbon's named
Oh,
after.
that's your
Oh,
okay.
dang,
So that's
that's
your
perfect.
son.
So the bourbon's named
This
after
is
him.
now it makes sense.
So this one here has a totally different nose.
Yeah, it does.
The way we do the 1775 to me is different than a lot of whiskeys, even though the same recipe. Gotcha.
Yeah, so one thing I notice when I drink whiskey, as soon as I get one that's smooth, if it's got some bite to it, I'll sip it all day. The smoother, it makes me get that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
really.
And it's not like I can't handle it. It's like my palate cleansing right after, like, ooh, give me some more of that.
Yeah. So this is just
Real smooth.
So you said it was like a kind of an older, not stock recipe, but a popular recipe.
Yeah, a lot of whiskey recipes will have the same corn ratio and everything.
And was that a recipe that was developed like that far back, or is that something that was kind of in like the last 100 years, or
I would
right
say-
pre-prohibition?
I would say after Prohibition, a lot of recipes changed. You know, so I think it was story I read. Correct. I mean, you can look it up and correct me if I'm wrong later, if I misspeak. But I think it was Buffalo Trace, the guy who owned Buffalo Trace. He wanted to make his whiskeys the way he wanted to make it. He would have his wife cook bread in the ratios he wanted to make a whiskey. And if he liked the bread, he would make a mash of that and then would distill it.
Interesting.
That's smart.
And it took him like 12 years, and he actually was like a forerunner, or maybe longer than 12 years, because bourbon wasn't America's alcohol until I think like 1963, when Congress made it the spirit of America. Bourbon was the American spirit.
Okay.
You know? And so, and I think the owner of Buffalo had a big hand in doing that with them.
Makes sense. Is that when Bottled and Bond came out and all of that?
Well, Bottled and Bond's older than that. Bottled and Bond is it was mashed, distilled, and aged all under one roof.
And that's government regulated.
Yeah, and
like,
that was to keep
to
like,
this day.
That was to keep guys from saying, "Oh, I think the first food and drug kind of FDA kind of thing that we did in America was for whiskey, and was to say to be called a straight whiskey has to be 2 years." And because you had a lot of small distilleries that were putting out stuff and selling it,
Right.
and these guys that had more money and more experience or whatever it was, they wanted to say, well, ours is better because ours is a straight whiskey, or ours is better because it was bottled and bond.
Separation of some sort.
So it was
yeah.
like, oh, this one's bottled and bond. It's marketing.
It is marketing, but it's marketing that's played out for 200 years, because now, even today, if it says straight whiskey, it means a certain thing. Like, it can't say these things on the label unless it's produced that way. Bottled and bond is like the most heavily regulated version of that through the government still today overseeing stuff
whiskey
like
production,
Rittenhouse or whatever, like bottled in bond. You know?
And so what Buffalo Trace did, I think, when he changed it with Congress, he was the one that came up with it has to be at least 51% corn.
Okay,
all those kind of things. Those kind of rules that they have today, when they wrote all the laws. Because if you go to the TTB website, it'll tell you if you want to make an American whiskey, it has to be done like this, has to be aged like this, at this proof. Can't come off the
setting
still.
all the standards.
Can't come off the still any higher than this proof.
Right.
Can't barrel it any lower than this proof or higher than this proof. All these rules. So they really kind of. I think it was the 60s, and like I said, if I'm wrong, sorry, but that's what I remember from reading all this stuff. And they really made the rules for whiskeys, bourbons, ryes, all that stuff. A corn whiskey has to be at least 81% corn to be called a corn whiskey.
Sure,
corn whiskey,
So,
right?
all this stuff. So
a lot of it looks like it comes down to quality assurance at a certain point, right? Just making sure that if you say you're getting this, you're going to get this.
Plus also, that's probably a huge deal. Plus it's like, you got this guy who's really trying to follow a certain set of rules, and this other guy's saying he's doing it, but he's not.
Yeah, it cheapens the whole game.
So it's like, well, how come I have to play by these rules and he doesn't?
And
gotcha.
They kind of played that up, I feel like, too, if I remember correctly, in some of the like research and readings that I did years ago, that the American government used that idea of this stuff's making people go blind. This stuff is putting people in the hospital. Like, you don't know what you're getting unless it's bottled in bond. So you could buy it from them, so the government gets money on the regulation and so forth and so on.
A lot of those people going blind and people getting sick is they were using like lead radiators to cool off the whiskey as it was coming through to make a condenser.
Jesus.
Stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
the people that you had no idea. No one had any idea.
You got hillbillies and they don't care about science. They got third grade education.
They're like, it makes it cold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it converts it back into a liquid from a steam, And then they had things like Al Capone, he was buying up tons so you have ethanol and methanol. So when you have a high ratio of methanol, if you drink a lot of methanol, you will go blind. It'll make you go blind.
Okay.
So he would break into warehouses and steal the methanol, blend it in with a bunch of whiskey he got from Canada. Just people would drink it. You can't tell the difference,
right?
But it's biochemically destroying you. Like
Wow.
shutting down livers and eyesight and things like that. So
I always thought that was a myth that drinking
wasn't.
Bad whiskey or moonshine will make you go
not
blind.
now.
It's drinking methanol will make you go blind. It'll make you sick. Copious amounts of that. So he just blended whatever to make more profit. It's kind of like the cocaine dealers.
Cutting something up.
Get a bunch of pure cocaine. Well, take all that drywall dust, hack it up, blend it, and then mix it together 50-50. And the next guy gets it and goes, oh, we'll take that and put more drywall dust and some rat poison in it. Whatever, baby powder. And then by the time it gets to the end user, you don't know what's in it.
Right.
So that was what Al Capone was doing.
I mean, that's the whole idea of what they call it, like bathtub gin, is the whole prohibition era of like just whoever
Turpentine.
Making whatever in their
dirty ass
bathtub to be slung as booze. It's pretty wild.
So this one's a straight whiskey, right? 2 years?
Yeah. This is our 1775 straight.
Yeah, so smooth. It's funny. It almost tastes like the color. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
it has that real light flavor. Yeah. Like it.
I get a little spiciness on the back end from the rye because it's a high rye. Any whiskey made with more than 16% rye is considered a high rye.
Right.
So that's a 21% rye.
Okay.
I like that rye. I like that ancient grain and like that kind of like flavor profile
rye,
to me.
Yeah.
That smells like you're distilling or you're brewing, like all that spent grain.
But it's funny. I should have brought some, and I didn't think about it now that I'm sitting here. I should have brought the unaged double distilled proof to the same thing, and you could see the flavor profile difference.
Oh, I bet.
We can come back on and do that later,
Hey, man, you're always welcome. I mean, we're going to have fun today, but anytime you want to come talk drinks, I'm down.
But I do like the 1775. I think it's a solid whiskey. Again, I don't think I make the best whiskeys. What I want to do is make a Redlands whiskey,
Well, dude, you've definitely made a name for yourself, like you said, being the only distiller in Redlands.
Yeah.
But instead of just starting and putting out a product that's like, all right, here's good, it's good enough. You're saying, no, I'm going to continue. And then you're also diversifying and going into the other spirits too. I think that people in Redlands have respect for that. You know what I mean?
I started with whiskey. And the reason why is I read an article one time, a lot of distillers start with the clear stuff like gins and vodkas, and they kind of get stuck in a rut and they never get out of it.
Oh, okay.
Because you now all of a sudden you have a production rate you have to keep up with, and it's like, well, how do we switch gears? So a lot of guys, you'll see them a lot of young distilleries will start with vodkas and gins real fast, get a product out in a week, and you're good to go. I started out with bourbons and whiskeys, and we used to use smaller barrels because the volume of the barrel is greater than the volume of liquid. It can really induce a lot of flavor and color quicker. Not quicker, just faster than a bigger barrel. You know?
Sure.
So I used to age it for only like 1 year or 6 months in these small barrels. And then I was like, and now that we're up to almost 3 years, we have a bunch of 3 years coming out this year. And the difference in flavor and what we've made in the same way, but then have it sit with the barrel longer and do the right process, it's astronomical.
Yeah.
Like there's so much more flavor, so much more complexity than those little 6 months barrel, which were a good start. 6
Sure.
you know, but I always wanted to progress. But I knew I didn't want to start out with clear liquids first because then I would get attached to that and probably never make a whiskey. So I kind of went the hard route first.
Yeah, I was gonna say you took the high road or whatever you want to call it. You took the harder route first.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're gonna have to invest more of your time to create this product, but once you do this, if you can do this successfully, the other stuff will fall in line a little bit.
Exactly.
Right? So.
That's
Yeah,
like
dude,
a
it's fucking
story I
rad.
like to tell. First time I ever took my little sister snowboarding, she was scared out of her goddamn mind. And I was like, yeah, we'll go on the bunny slope. Come on. I took her all the way to the fucking top.
Yeah.
And we were going down. She goes, this bunny slope is pretty long. And she gets to the bottom and she's like, all right, like, let's go on the big hill. I was like, you did already.
Yeah,
You're
just
good
did
to
it.
go. And she was like excited. She was a little scared and pissed at me. You know what I mean? But
I can't believe you.
she accomplished
That's
something
funny.
like she may not have done. Same thing. If you would have started on the bunny
Fear.
slopes with easy things, you might not have allowed yourself to take that bigger step.
And maybe you would have, but maybe it would have taken a lot longer. Or would have
Too
been a
long,
different kind of trajectory that it puts you on, right? So it's like this. To me, I don't know. If you're gonna do it, you're gonna invest your time and heart and soul into this shit, and you like it, and you like whiskey, and you don't like vodka. Why would you start with the other stuff? You know,
Exactly.
you start with what you love.
I love.
You know,
And I love
what
whiskeys.
you want to produce.
Yeah, and it took me a while to figure out. You know, as when we had our tasting room and people would come in and order a drink, and they'd be like, "Do you have any vodka or gin?" And I was like, "Man, I'm getting a lot of this, so I need to do that."
Yeah. Well, that's just smart. I mean, when you got people asking for something,
Yeah.
you got to give it to them.
So I'm missing out on half my customers,
Right.
half my sales,
Right.
So that was my reason behind it. So here's a Jeremiah Riley. This is named after my son. He's going to be 21 in August. He's a Marine. He's a corporal stationed out here in Camp Pendleton. Good
Awesome.
kid. Just got married.
Congratulations.
Jeremiah.
So this is named after him. He's my oldest son, Jeremiah Riley. His real name's Jason Riley, but we call him Jeremiah. That's his middle name at home. So, and then I have a rye whiskey called Jude Liam. That's my youngest son.
Sick.
And I didn't bring another product, Ava Mays. I'm sure.
Ava May, yeah, that's
my,
the cinnamon apple
that's
pie,
my
right?
16-year-old daughter. So it's Ava Mays. We only do 500 bottles a year, and it's released on her birthday every year, September 17th.
That's rad.
Yeah. So
It's a family affair, dude. That's super cool.
We kind of skipped 2 years because of COVID and all that, and we were kind of moving and
Yeah.
you know. So this is our blue corn bourbon. This is 116 proof, 58% alcohol.
Wow. Is it single barrel or do you mix the barrels together?
We blend the barrels.
You do blend them. Okay.
So we'll do batches, and then
Definitely.
I kind of have like a little rating system I do. I'm not like a professional barrel blender. There's people that is their job. to do.
Right.
Hopefully one day we're big enough to have one of those as well. But I like this. To me, it has like a maple brown sugar. Kind of smells like
Yeah.
To me, it smells like Quaker Oats, the instant oatmeal, the maple brown sugar.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
what
I
it
see
smells
that.
like to me. But it's good.
Now, when you're doing a batch of something, just because I'm not even sure, how many bottles does that encompass on like a normal batch of something you guys do?
We'll go off barrel. A barrel of 750s, you get, depending on how long it sits and evaporates, you get from anywhere 200 to 300 bottles.
Okay.
And then on the smaller bottles like this, you can get upwards of maybe 500.
Fives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they're half the size.
Right.
So again, you know, as a barrel sits, it does evaporate. The wood is porous. The alcohol leaves. You know,
The angel share, right?
the angel share.
Yeah, I remember that from your tour back in the day.
Yeah, so
Hell yeah.
we didn't have any kind of climate control in our old distillery, but now I have two, I guess you want to call them swamp coolers or evaporator coolers, running 24/7 in there.
So you keep it just right.
It's nice and cold in there, and it's humid.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that
that's what
keeps
they
the
want.
barrels from drying out.
Right.
And so that slows down the angel share.
Awesome. Yeah,
So-
because that expands the wood, so it closes any gaps,
keeps
right?
It keeps it more moist, and then when it's dry, the wood, shrinks, and then you get
Sucks
leaks.
up some of that.
Yeah.
And then we live in such a dry climate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's what a good day is like 30% maybe.
Yeah.
And you're talking about like Tennessee, North Carolina, those states are 80, 90%.
All the time.
I was stationed in North Carolina. Some days it was like 95% humidity.
It's nasty.
Yeah, you
It's a
can't
different kind of like, yeah, we
It's a
live in the
different
heat,
sweat.
but it's a different kind of heat.
Your
yeah.
body's just like, we need to cool off, and it can't. So like we're sweating now, but it's evaporating, so it's cooling us. Over there, it's like it just sits on you. You're just
Yeah.
dripping.
Yeah, you end up puddled
You're
up.
like a
yeah.
glass of cold water. You know what I'm
Seriously,
saying? It's
straight
just
up.
sweating.
We went to North Carolina last year at the end of May, like right at the
Right when it started to get humid.
right
Yeah,
now,
yeah.
and it was like
wasn't quite hot, but it was just nasty.
yeah, it was like 85 degrees, so it wasn't unbearable, but like 70-80% humidity,
Yep.
and it was that same feeling. You wake up, you get out of the shower, and you
And
like
gotta take
can't
another
dry
shower.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. Time for another shower. Yeah, your towel's wet.
Yeah,
So you
when
really
you're
don't
dry.
dry off.
Yeah.
And then it rains every 20 minutes there.
Yeah, that's true too. We got caught in
It'll
that.
be all like blue and big white clouds. Then like 20 minutes later, it just rains for 10 minutes, then goes away. Another hour, rains for 30 minutes, goes away.
It's funny, man. It's the more I travel, it's like everywhere has like their own thing. People like this region, one because it's where they grew up, or two they experienced it and it's not like where they grew up. So there's something to be said about all these different climates and different states. Like everything has positives about it, but Southern California, you can't beat this shit, dude.
Oh, no, you can't.
I'm just gonna go on the record and say you can't beat it.
Can't beat it.
It's so nice.
It is nice. I'm not too sure about the politics of California, but I do like the weather.
I mean, the homeless population is another argument we could have.
That's something else. I mean, if you want to be homeless, that's fine. Just be clean about it, but they're not.
I'm just fucking it around, but you know what I'm saying. Like as far as weather goes, and accessibility to the beach and the mountains,
The mountains,
Yeah.
the desert, the beach.
we're all right here. It's all
Being
so
able to-
central.
A long like gardening period. If you want to have
Yeah.
a garden.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I love my garden right now.
Yeah, me
it's
too.
it's just starting to get a little hot. I live in La Quinta, so it's starting to heat up where it's killing off some of my stuff. But I love gardening. I love being out there and picking food
Well, that's a
and
lot
being
of
able to
fertile
eat my
ground out there
food.
in La Quinta.
It's a fertile valley, even
Yeah.
though it's a desert. Like
Very
it's
fertile.
It's insane.
Yeah.
Everything I
As
grew
long as
this
you have
year
water, you can grow
popped
massive
right
amounts.
up. Yeah. Peppers. I mean, easy grows. Peppers, tomatoes, eggplants, zucchini, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
Those desert.
Squash.
gangs
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Give it
grows
to
like
me.
crazy. Yeah, it's very fertile out there.
Yeah, it rules.
So I wanted to ask, as you were mentioned earlier about mixing the barrels together and kind of blending yourself. What is it that you're looking for, like as you go? Like, let's say you have 5 barrels in front of you, and now you're going to blend those together. Like, what would be your process or kind of your idea of I'm looking for? Okay, this one's spicy or this one's sweet, or
Yeah.
like what are you blending
So,
together?
That's what I look for. I look for a little spiciness, sweetness. I have 5 categories, and then I look for like caramel notes, vanilla notes, and then wood flavor.
Okay.
And then I'll take those 5 flavors and I'll sip a little and I'll sit and think on it and I write down my thoughts. And then I kind of have a 5-star system. So I'm like, well, this one on the caramel is probably a 3, but on the vanilla it was a 1. On the sweetness it was a 5. You know what I mean? So I
Okay.
kind of do that. And then I look at all, like let's say I have 10 barrels or 2 barrels or whatever I have, right?
Uh-huh.
And then I'm like, okay, let's kind of balance them out to where they're all 3s. That's what I do.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not like a expert. That's just what I've come up with.
Sure,
And that's,
sure.
That's how I do it.
So you're trying to get all the barrels to the
kinda
same
match.
level to the
Yeah.
match.
So I'll take like if I know this one's a 3, I'll do the percentages of 50 gallons. I'll go, okay, I want 20% of this one blended with 10% of this one and 40% of that one
Right.
to make 100% of a 53 gallon barrel.
yeah.
Does
that's-
that make sense?
Absolutely.
So what you were mentioning earlier, there's like people that are professional at this, that like that's their whole life is like blending barrels,
Yeah.
and they do it very like on a grand scale, like say Jameson or
Super
some-
scientific,
an
yeah.
Irish whiskey, Tilmadoo, whatever. They're blended whiskeys, very popular. They make so many bottles every year. I mean, the
yeah.
production's insane, and they have to be consistent. If it's
Right.
a different product, that's why people say like a good Pilsner is the hardest thing to like consistently brew in beer, is because you're going to be able to taste the difference in it more than you would something that's a hoppy beer or has more flavor. It's like to have that subtle, clean Budweiser or whatever it is, Heineken every time, the way it's supposed to
Consistency,
taste.
yeah.
it's a heavy process.
Especially when you have 12 breweries.
You know, and then when you're doing something as volatile as whiskey, it's even more different because the wood and everything is going to change it dramatically as well.
Each barrel does its own thing.
You
can't control it at all.
Exactly. It's completely different from barrel to barrel.
Yeah.
So it is an art form to be able to pick that out, be able to say, I want this out of this. How do we get it?
And I capture that, hopefully encapsulate it and put it in a bottle.
And still put out a consistent product.
Yeah. Kind of seems like it's a lot like trying to like tame a wild horse. Like it's doing what it wants to do, and all you just got to make sure that what you're doing to it gets it where you want to go.
Dude, have you tamed horses? Is there something I don't know about you?
Hey, back in my horse taming
He's
days.
a horse whisperer.
Yeah, 2 whiskeys. He's like, when I'm breaking horses.
He's out there lassoing in the hallway.
You guys don't know about Jimmy Lasso.
Jimmy Lasso. I like
That's his new nickname.
Done.
Jimmy Lasso.
I'm here with Jimmy Lassos every week, baby.
Jimmy Lasso and the Rat.
We got a new radio show coming out called Jimmy Lasso and the Rat.
Hey, everybody.
Dude, Jason, I'm sorry, you were going to say something.
He's got to wear a Woody costume.
Yeah,
Howdy, howdy, howdy.
There's a snake in my boot.
Dude, that's the best.
I just
so
derailed
this
us.
has a lot of wood characteristics to me, which I like. But
now, how would you describe that? Like, what wording or flavoring, like metaphors, would you use to say like the wood flavor?
I don't know. Like, I guess if I've ever chewed on a piece of like oak, it kind of, you get that flavor in your mouth.
The smell of the burn,
Yeah.
like if you were like a campfire,
char of the barrel.
the char of the barrel, that oak, if it comes through.
Yeah.
And there's some that it's like too heavily charged. So another thing about bourbon that we kind of passed over, but it's very important, is you have to use new French oak traditionally, and then char, right?
New American
New
white oak.
American white oak.
It's American white oak.
Yeah.
My bad. I thought it was old.
French
old
French
oak.
have a white oak too, but it's not American white
Okay,
oak.
so American white oak, and then new, and then freshly charred. You char it.
Yeah.
So you burn the inside of the barrel before you put the juice in to sit.
Yeah.
So
We use a char number 3. We get it from a manufacturer.
there
So
you go.
we buy it from
And that depends on what the depth of the char through the oak or what.
Yeah, how thick the black part is. So you always get this thin red line between the white oak, and then there's this thin little red line that
It's like a smoke ring almost.
kind of, yeah. So and then the char is like a real thick alligator or not so thick alligator. So you look at it, it's like kind of like alligator skin for a char number 4.
Mm-hmm.
Really like deep crevices and cracked really bad.
Yeah.
You know, so that's it kind of the closest thing I describe it as like dry alligator skin. You know?
Sure.
And then so that's going to be a certain thickness, and then I think it's a 1/4 inch of the barrel at least has to be charred
Okay.
by law, and then you have a thin red line, and I think that's where you get that amber color from. That red, you know, that's like the wood that didn't get as hot.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of toasted underneath the charring, and then you have the white oak after that.
Interesting.
So if you notice with this bourbon, what I like about it, and some people don't like it, and I don't get offended when people are like, oh, I don't like his whiskey. I'm like, well, it's all right. It's not for everybody. But you get that little, about 70 to 90% of the way down your palate, you get this bright, like almost like a green, if you could describe a flavor as a color, like a green oak.
I was gonna say like a
bright-
unripe cherry,
Yeah,
almost something
exactly.
like you know
Exactly.
I could totally taste it when you
know
said
what I'm
that,
talking
like
about? Or
it hit immediately.
Apricot or something that's not ripe.
something that's not quite sweet,
Exactly, but
a little
but it's fruity.
earthy and bitter, but it has that
Yeah.
fruitiness.
Yeah, so that's what I like about this. Like, I get all those deep dark tones in the beginning, the smokiness and
The caramel, the amber.
caramel, the amber,
right.
the maple sugar flavor, and then it turns into this really bright, like fruity, and it disappears.
Yeah,
And which I like.
That's nice, and that I don't
And
know.
that's high proof. When you proof it down, if you guys want to try a little bit and add a little like a cube of ice to it, you can do that as well, and you'll see just
How it opens up.
Put like one little thing of ice in there. Thing of ice. Sorry, I walked away from the mic.
We're getting technical, dude.
So just drop a little flake of ice in there and let it sit and melt, and then watch how much it changes the entire experience of the whiskey or the bourbon. So we could talk about this real quick while that melts.
Cool.
This is called the Escape Route, and this was made with beer from Escape. This is actually our oldest product. It's 5 years old.
Oh,
This
cool.
is aged for 5 years. This was aged. I only have 105 bottles of this.
Oh wow.
So we didn't get a big batch of beer. It was a beer. So beer guys can be, or not be, but they have to be a little more stringent about like off flavors and things like that.
In the mash?
During the mash. If it gets like a bacteria that's in there that's not going to taste good,
right.
we can still distill it.
Because the alcohol is going to kill.
Yeah, because we open ferment. We just have.
Oh, you just have open top fermentation tanks?
Yeah, my fermentation tanks are temperature controlled at room temperature, but they're open, so we get wild yeast strands.
Is it like a fodder?
Yeah, so it's local to Redlands. So if I took and made my whiskey somewhere else, it might change a little bit.
True.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
it's just what's in the air.
But the beer guys, like, you could literally right now stick your hand in my beer mash and drink it from your hand, and I wouldn't freak out. If you did that to a beer guy, he'd probably kill you. Yeah, he just ruined his batch. So they had an off batch, and they're like, you know what, we're not going to serve this to our customers. Do you want to? I said, yeah, I'll distill it. So I distilled it and I aged it in a few 30-gallon barrels, and it sat for 5 years and dehydrated, and the barrels were pretty empty. So we ended up with 105 bottles. I'm gonna sell these for $100. Very floral, so different. It's got hops in it. It's like so different.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what beer was it?
It was their Bike Ride IPA.
Oh, okay.
So
wow, they haven't. I don't think they've had that one out in a while.
This color is very.
It's amber. So dark, dude.
Amber.
So dark.
It just sat in this charred number 3 little tiny barrel for 5 years.
Nice.
And then I just threw all the 3 barrels that I had left and just threw them together. I didn't try to blend them.
How often are you tasting throughout? Like it's sitting there. How often were you checking back on it?
I do like a 6 month, and then like a year and a half, and then I'll do like a 2 year. And see where it's at.
Yeah.
But the 3 years, phenomenal right now.
That's
this
your
stuff
money
here is good. But now it's starting to really become money because I've been able to produce and fill and let it sit because we've been in business so long.
Yeah.
So it's just been a long process, you know.
And I feel
I
like
wasn't born with like $10 billion, so it wasn't one of those things where I could just mass produce.
Oh man,
I couldn't mass produce and sit on it. You know, I had to go like, hey, this is pretty good at 1 year. Let's sell it. You know.
Yeah. What you're saying too is like you took the risk to do bourbon and stuff that has to sit first and not be able to put a product out in 2 months or whatever.
Correct.
So you're already taking that leap, and then you have to really kind of dial it in because things in those first 2 years, I'm sure, changed dramatically. Operations change, recipes change. You dial things in. You like this better. You like this less.
People work there. People quit.
Right.
Plus now you're expanding as you're doing that. You went from the warehouse to like the whole restaurant and everything. That's an entirely another chunk.
Your room's got air conditioning. Like it's more climate controlled. Like you've been able to dial all these things in. So I feel like tasting has to be your last resort of how this is actually going to turn out because there's so many variables.
Yeah, it is. I mean, there is and there isn't. As long as you use the same ingredients, you know, the same ratio of water to grain, the same yeast strands, same amount of grams of yeast per gallon, you know, all that stuff, and then you distill the same way every time. It's probably like 95% going to be the same. But,
okay.
You know,
that 5% is important though.
It could be. It could be make or break. You know,
it could be the difference between something great and something good.
And I've had some not so good. I took some risks and did some different things. Like, not doing that again. Now I got 100 gallons of something that I can't sell.
That's right. That's crazy. What do you do with it?
I just give it away or drink it.
Right. Give it to the homies.
Just figure out. You know, like, hey man, we're gonna call this peanut butter and jelly. You want it? You know.
Straight up.
What do you do with it? You know, it's like, so you can redistill it, but those off flavors are still there.
Still going to be
there. At that point, they're already developed.
Yeah. And I thought about blending like a couple percent every now and then in it, but I was just like, I'll just leave it. I have a bunch of bottles I can't even sell. Like, I was like, I'll just bottle and sit on it. Maybe somebody will find it in 100 years and be like, this is delicious.
Yeah. Those orphan barrel stories.
Like yeah, exactly. Orphan barrel. Yeah. That's actually, those guys, you know, they got a good brand.
Dude, they figured out what they're doing. I didn't really want to get into it when they first started popping up. I was like, this is kind of whatever. And they've had some good stuff.
They find some good stuff.
They really do. Yeah, it's crazy to see how the game is like developed, and it's not just necessarily people producing it. Right?
They look for these lost barrels that nobody wants.
That's what
we're gonna take that.
They sold it like a motherfucker, you know, like
they win. So,
okay. So what am I looking for now that this is opened up with the cube?
It's gonna get more mellow. I don't know what the proof is now, but it's a little cold, so that's gonna hide some of your flavor profiles on your tongue. But that's why you want whiskey at room temperature. But it's a lot more, to me, more brown sugary, and then
it does have more of a sugar, like a
it hits me more like a little less full flavored, a little less full flavored, a little smoother, a little bit more approachable, say like like just your standard Buffalo Trace. It's got the caramel. Those sweet notes really amp up.
Oh yeah.
And some of the heat dies down with the ice.
And that little apricot unripened fruit kind of hits and then goes away real quick.
Yeah,
Right, it's still
it's
there.
a flash. Yeah.
It's a flash.
But it's almost like a cleanse too to the sweetness of like how it starts off.
Yeah.
The nose changes a little bit too.
Yeah. It changes. The water changes a lot.
It's a crazy concept, man. Yeah, it's so nuts that one ice
it's
cube.
letting different aromatics and different molecules release and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, as a bartender, like I've heard so many people talk shit, be like, oh, I just want one small ice cube. And other people are like, I can't believe that guy. That's so bougie. I'm like, nah, it really does change the whole drink. It's crazy.
It does. So there's that. Little Jeremiah Riley bourbon.
Hell yeah. No, it's delicious. Awesome.
It is like drinking two different whiskeys, though.
It's two-
bro.
yeah, totally different.
Completely changes it.
Yeah.
Amazing story. Are you only doing these in the 375s?
Yeah, these are 375s because we only do about 12 barrels a year.
Okay, so it's more of the one-off per year.
Yeah, so it's a small,
Limited
small
release.
batch.
Sick. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, dude.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's
That's your
insane.
bottle, so you can keep that. You guys are going to fight over it later. If you want.
I'm gonna fight for that.
I'm going to come back to the office. It's going to be gone.
You might fight over this one. This one's pretty darn fantastic. So I put on here, how do you make a good beer great? Turn it into whiskey.
Yes, I love it.
It says J Riley Distillery presents the Escape Route whiskey made from beer, which all whiskey's made from beer. For this one, so it says crafted by Escape Craft Brewery, distilled and aged by J Riley.
That's cool, and that's a great local
and it's a collaboration. And on the back it talks about after being neighbors for years at J Riley Distillery and Escape Craft Brewery, have inevitably collaborated to create this one of a kind, never to be done again spirit. Because we won't. We're talking about doing some other things. We've taken Escape's Red Rye IPA with citrus hops, distilled 2 times, and barrel aged it for 5 years in white American oak. Whether you're looking to get out of trouble or get into some, we've got the Escape Route. So enjoy responsibly, Nice. So it's kind of a cool story for Redlands.
I like it. I honestly thought you guys were connected back in the day because you're in the same parking lot there.
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna dump that.
No.
But
no,
I'll make more.
I take no offense, bro. It's your drink. It's your juice.
Can I see that water over there?
Yes.
So this right here is so different from anything, and it's a one-off. And we've talked about doing another one with something else. But we are pulling 4 barrels of bourbon next month, and actually it's June, so we're doing it this month. And I'm gonna take and give those barrels to Escape. They're gonna age their it's like a milk stout.
Yeah.
What is it called?
I don't remember the name, but I had it when we were in there this last time. It's like
It's really good.
Yeah, it's thick and heavy.
Dark. It's like a protein shake in a beer.
Yeah.
So they're gonna take the Escape route. They're gonna take that beer, put it in our bourbon barrels, 4 barrels. Then I'm gonna get those barrels back after like 6 months. And I'm gonna age some already 3-year-old bourbon in those barrels again for like 6 months.
Whiskey,
beer,
and
then get those
whiskey.
stout flavors in with the whiskey. So
Awesome.
it should be pretty cool. And then we're gonna try and do that once a year. So
Okay.
Nice.
a little water. All right. So the Escape route here.
Yeah, you can grab me one too, man. I'm gonna need to sip on something.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Stay sober.
We'll see about that.
There's one right there too if you want it.
Oh, okay.
I think these are really cold.
No, that's fine. Room temp's good.
I almost prefer room temp water now.
I don't drink cold water. I hate it.
We leave it like out of the fridge at my house, and we just like get it when you need it.
I like tap water too. Everybody's like, that's disgusting. I'm like,
Yeah, in the desert, our tap water is definitely very minerally. I can taste the difference, but
heavy
at the
sediments.
same time, it doesn't bother me.
Yeah. So this is the Escape route. If you give it a nose, so
Oh
different.
wow.
So different.
You can
smell the
instantly
hops.
the citrus and the
So
hops.
hoppy.
Yeah,
it's,
man.
it's all lemon and hops in my
very
nose.
lemony.
So
very
wow.
citrus lemon. Yeah.
I was
When,
not
when
expecting
you look at the
that,
color,
dude.
you wouldn't think it'd be that bright.
It's
No.
got the smell of like the lemon oil that you do your wood with.
Like
Straight up.
lemonade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but also has a hops in there.
What is that shit called? Like not Windex,
Old
but
English.
yeah,
or
the
something
like
that.
wood
Yeah,
polish.
it's like a wood.
Yeah,
wood
the lemon
oil.
wood polish. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a wood oil. Yeah.
Lemon pledge.
Yeah,
basically.
pledge. That's what it is.
I think there is one called Old English though.
Yeah, there is.
As soon as I put
That's a
my
nicer
nose in
brand.
it, though, it smelled like an IPA. That hop
Yeah.
profile
It's
is
IPA,
right there
like
too.
you said, and so it's got the. I forget the hops. I think I think they use like a Citra hop.
They're using Citra, if it says citrus hops, I mean I'm guessing Citra, Galaxy, Eldorado,
Exactly.
Lemon
Something
Drop,
like-
something along those lines.
You get all that on nose, and the flavor is just so unique.
I sip it like I sip wine, so I kind of suck through my teeth, and then I forget that I'm
Isn't
on
that
the
delicious?
on the mic.
That's good.
So good.
Huh?
Oh my
It's
god,
so good.
dude, that is delicious.
It's a little more viscous, like a little bit more, almost like oily from that.
Almost oily.
right?
You're right. On the tongue, it's very
You know
oily.
what I'm saying?
I think it's from the hops. But
Totally,
what
it
is
totally
that?
is. It's the resin or something from the hops.
That flavor that washes over on the back end
so different.
is I can't even put a
You can't
name to
describe
it.
it.
And
No,
maybe
it's so like
in the
sweet.
order too that we've been drinking them, but this is like hitting completely different.
So different. That's why I went light to dark, and then we'll go to full like botanical flavor with the gin.
It's
Insane.
almost a bitter sweet flavor. Like I don't know, man. I don't really want to put words on it because
It's
they're
different.
wrong.
It's
Anybody
totally
listening
different.
is not going to get the right.
Anyone listening, check out J Riley here in Redlands, California. If you're in Southern California, make a stop and just
Seriously.
go try this stuff because anything we're saying isn't going to quite do it justice.
It's not.
Nah.
They do have to come and experience it. We
What-
do flights of our whiskeys. You get 6 different types, or all of our spirits. We'll just whatever spirits you want. It's like $30. Get half-ounce pours.
Oh, dope.
You get to sample them. It has a little description of everything and what it's made from.
And also, it's a full, amazing restaurant. It's not just a distillery in a industrial lot anymore.
No, it's beautiful.
You have a full
Dude,
production.
it is gorgeous.
It is insane,
follow
amazing
us on
food.
Instagram, J Riley Distillery.
Check it out. Yeah, is it J Riley Distillery on
Yeah,
Instagram?
on Instagram.
Sick.
Yeah.
Dude, and that food menu that you got worked up at the spot too is great.
I think it's good.
Very
It's just-
complimentary
it's
to.
perfect. I mean, those guys making fresh ingredients. I mean, they make their own burger patties, all the sauces,
Right, everything's scratch kitchen.
everything scratch except for the fries. Fries and onion rings we buy in a bag. So
Yeah, that's to be expected these
Yeah.
days. And
It's
to
like-
tell you the truth, when people say they make in-house fries and they're not good, I'm like, you should have
yeah,
just
should just buy
Bottom, yeah.
So we buy some good fries, and then we have a Boilermaker brat. We boil it in beer and whiskey, and then they grill it after it's caramelized
Yes,
and all the
please.
stuff. They serve it, and we make our own house like bourbon peach mustard that comes with it, and it
Had
comes
that
with this
one.
giant
Yeah,
pretzel.
I had
The
some of that
pretzel,
last time.
man.
That was
Yeah,
good.
it's really good.
Fire.
So
See, and that's genius too, because you get a flight of whiskey, you need that pretzel to soak
Yeah.
up some of that.
it's so good. So
But that location is prime too, man.
It's
I'm
beautiful.
so stoked to see you guys
I'm
like
blessed. I'm
thriving,
blessed.
dude. So
it's a really
much.
good spot. So
Yeah,
it's,
that's awesome.
We've had a good, reaction from the community. I think people like it.
Awesome.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I've heard nothing but
It's
good
been-
things.
It's been fun. We've been open 14 months now in that new location, so it's been an experience for me.
Sick.
I've never run a restaurant before, so it's a lot of work. But
I'm glad you opened up. It gave me a new place to take all my hinge dates.
It's cool. Right? So again, this is the escape route. This will come out
So
Father's
good.
Day weekend.
Dude.
There's
So
105 bottles. That's it.
If
So-
you're listening to this in Redlands and you have any like of whiskey, you don't even have to love it.
Or
I'm
if
just
your
telling you,
dad likes
if you
whiskey.
know anyone that likes whiskey, get your hands on this bottle. It's going to be
so
so unique,
insane.
so unique.
I think it's worth every penny of $100.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so unique. I've never tasted any whiskey like that.
I love unique whiskeys in that sense, but they have to be good.
Yeah.
So like when Angel's Envy Rye came out and they were aging it, they still age it in Caribbean rum barrels to finish it,
Yeah.
right? For like 3 months before they release it. That flavor profile was so unique to me that I was like, I'll pay the $75 a bottle
Yeah.
or whatever for it because
Because you'll never get it again.
it's
Or-
different than everything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
You know, you could
It
show it
stands
to
alone.
someone and be like, hey, check this out. It's very,
Yeah, so you have the
like on
whiskey
its own.
family here, and then you have the subcategories. Then you have this thing over here
Right.
that nobody's doing.
and with
Right.
100
You pay
bottles,
for it.
Yeah.
with 100 bottles in the world, there's not going to be nothing like this
No,
ever
and
again.
they'll all be
So
hand numbered. This one's not numbered.
that's insane.
Dang,
so-
unnumbered.
You guys can keep
I
this
told you-
bottle.
I love it, bro. That's too kind.
Yeah, you're giving us
So
way
you got
more than
bottle
we're giving
zero.
you right
I
now.
don't even have bottle 0. So you get bottle 0.
Dang,
So-
you
Rat
heard it
Nest
first.
exclusive.
I would like just barely touch that every now and then.
Thank you.
Yeah,
man.
no, that
So-
one's staying.
that's-
staying
oh my
quiet.
God.
That's a special guy.
There is so much lemon in this. Like you
it's
said.
insane,
It's
right?
like I induced lemon into it, but I didn't. And I'm very like a traditional like whiskey maker. I want the barrel to do all the magic. You know.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't put sugar in it. I don't put caramel. I don't put
Right. No
I don't-
adjuncts.
whatever the barrel gives me, that's what we're gonna take.
Yeah,
Feed the barrel and let it do its
Yeah,
thing. Heck
let
yeah.
it breathe.
I mean,
for-
like you said, it's like if the yeast and the ingredients are quality, then you don't have to do much. Let it speak for itself. Let it breathe.
Oh man, that's dangerous.
Fire.
It's so good.
That is insane.
Yeah, it is. It is good.
Holy shit! What is it? What is it sitting at? 50, 45?
I think it's 50. Let's see. 100 proof.
Is it
100 proof?
Damn,
Yeah,
I'm good.
For being 100 proof,
What's up,
that is
bro?
so smooth.
Yeah, I
What's
only
funny
know
is
any of this.
I was
Okay.
actually going to bring this bottle without a label because I didn't have them. And about 10 minutes before I came here, the guy dropped off these labels.
Sick.
Oh no way! That's awesome.
Thank
That's
you
why
so
it's
much
unnumbered.
for sharing this with us. Like
It's
that's
such a
insane,
good
man.
experience.
It's
Yeah.
so insane. It's so good.
This has been great.
And I only
dude.
know any of this because I worked for a let's just say chain restaurant group at this point, but that started here in Redlands for many years and got familiar with whiskey through them.
Yeah.
And I love it, dude. Like I still geek out on this stuff more. I don't know, more than art sometimes. Like because it's craftsmanship. You know, it's time and effort and knowledge and trial and error. And all these things produce something beautiful.
Oh yeah, and it's just everybody's gonna do their own thing. Like I never would ever say somebody makes a bad spirit. I know what it takes to get to that point, and to trash somebody for something that I didn't like is it's asinine.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
Yeah.
like I hear people, I've had people tell me at the Redlands Bicycle Classic, "Oh my God, I hate that whiskey. That stuff's trash," and they're talking to me. And they're
Oh,
like,
Jesus.
okay. And then they'll see me at my little tent booth and like, "Oh my God, this woman, I don't know her name, but she was like just trash talking me." And I was like just standing there. I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And then she came over because she realized who I was because I was standing at the booth. She's like, "Oh, I'm so." Then she got mad because I said, "You don't owe me an apology." She's like, "Just take my apology." I was like, "You don't owe me one." And she's like, "Well, screw you." She got all mad at me again. I was just saying, like, your opinion is yours.
People are entitled to their opinion.
You don't have to. You don't have to like what I make.
Yeah.
And I don't get offended by it because
Totally.
I have 10,000 other people who do like it. Or maybe whatever. It's like I'm not claiming to be the best whiskey maker in the world. I'm just making what I make, and this is how I do it. And whether it's right or wrong to you, that's your opinion. So I don't get offended by people's opinions. If I did, I would have quit a long time ago.
Oh,
You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Did you have a lot of that shit like throughout the years? Like,
No, we've always had, I would say 90% positivity. You know, people like it. And
No one's.
we have people come in and buy sometimes, like 2 bottles a day, like once a week, the same people, and then we have other people. Like I had a couple come in, older couple, and they were going to Montana and they wanted to take to Montana these whiskeys from Redlands. And, so it's fun for the local residents to be able to buy a bottle, take it and share it with their friends, and they love it.
Yeah.
They want a California Clear in 1775. And that's what they're taking.
So the year that you put out the first batch of this, batch 1, I bought a bottle of it for my brother who lives in Texas.
Yeah.
And he's a big bourbon, Scotch, whiskey, everything, rye. He really likes his rye. But I was like, "Look, dude, I found something. I got to ship it to you." I wasn't supposed to ship it like through the mail.
Who cares?
I
just
literally-
say
I
it's
put it
olive
in.
oil.
Just tell them it's jellies and jams.
I told them it
from
was
Oak Glen.
cider from Oak Glen.
Glen,
Yeah, that was, and it worked perfect. They're like, "Oh, this gets shipped all the time."
Yeah, exactly.
He got it. He told me, I think when I was out there in for Thanksgiving last year, and he had just poured the last bit out. Like he savored it. He saved it. It was like 4.5 years that he had this thing,
cool.
and he would pour it like gold, like it was gold. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Half pours to everyone.
I still sit on my 1775 batch 1 because it's batch 1, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I knew when talking to you today that it was gonna have had to have ultimately changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Even if the
It
recipe
changed a
didn't,
lot.
things change,
rinse that
right?
real quick.
Like
Oh.
there's so many variables, and
You want some gin?
yeah. Let's do
So
this.
the story on the gin, this is dubbed around the distillery as gin haters gin. I get a lot of people in there like, "I hate gin." I'm like, all right, well, try our gin. They're like, "Oh, I like gin." So what I did with this is I was a gin hater for a long time, and it was just too much juniper. It was like drinking a pine tree root tea or something. So what I did was I used 5 ingredients. I had like 30 ingredients. So I was like, I had a little apothecary, and I was like trying all these things and kind of honed it down to this. And it's lemon and orange peel, cucumber, black peppercorn, and juniper berry. And what I like about this, you get the black peppercorn in the beginning, and then it just settles
You can
down.
smell
here.
it.
Oh, you can smell the black peppercorn.
It's insane.
So
It's such a different-
I smell black peppercorn and cucumber on the nose.
I smell the cucumber
Yeah.
too, for
with
sure.
a little bit of the juniper berry and stuff backing it up.
Yeah. Now you don't get any citrus notes too much on the nose.
But it also doesn't have a bite on the nose,
No.
where if you sniff a regular, say, a
Listen,
Beefeater or any dry
right.
gin,
Oh,
you're
yeah.
going to get some.
This is so sweet on the tongue. It's so much, to me, it's so much candy. I don't know. I love it. I was a gin hater. I will sip my gin and relax with it all the time now. And I was never a gin fan.
Yeah, I'm
And
about this already.
This is a really good gin. Makes the best Ramos Fizz.
How do you feel about the Ramos Fizz? You like that drink?
I like drinking it. I don't like making it.
It's the most labor-intensive drink.
Yeah,
Just
it's
to
like
give
8
you,
minutes of
it's
freaking
insane.
shaking.
And you can't do
Dry
it shorter.
shake the egg whites.
You have to let it sit
Yeah.
to build. You have to
Yeah.
pour it a certain way because ultimately you want the foam to be a good inch or two
it's
above the
huge.
glass of
And
the
it's
rim
just-
I've never
it's-
or the rim of the
It
glass.
tastes like a key lime pie
It's a traditional, very like muted citrus cake.
that nobody knows about.
Orangey,
And
lemony,
those who know,
limey.
you're like, please don't ask for a Ramos.
Yeah. We used to have a regular that order. And I'm like, God damn it, Mark's here. And I
Yeah.
just have to be like, all right, give me 10 minutes, bro. I'll get you.
You'll have it, and then I'm gonna make another one. So you weren't done with that one. It's ready.
Yeah.
But so our gin, like I said, Gin Haters Gin is a little nickname for it. I'm changing the name to Bonnie Sue, which is a Marine Corps helicopter squadron in Vietnam that really endured a lot of things, and it was kind of cool. It was the same helicopter I was on in the Marine Corps, CH-46. I love that helicopter. You can say what you will.
Is
All
that,
you helicopter
are those
guys out
like
there.
iconic Vietnam, both, dual door, open door?
No, that's the
choppers.
Huey. It was the one that it has two blades on the top, front
Okay.
and back.
Oh yeah.
And they mesh kind of like a Chinook.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like a
But
small
instead
Chinook.
on the sides, they're
They're in line. It's called a tandem rotor.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just some homage to the Marine Corps again. But
Right
Bonnie
on.
Sue,
Very
Bonnie
Bonnie
Sue is kind of a classy name for a gin. Sounds
Yeah,
like
I agree.
a
Yeah.
little lady from the Prohibition era.
She
when
sounds
gin
like
was
she's got
kinda-
her pinky up
yeah,
for sure.
Bonnie Sue.
Yeah.
And what was your daughter's name?
Ava.
Ava
May. Yeah.
So I mean, that's my grandma's Betty Sue. My mom's Leela May. The very Oklahoma
Yeah.
names,
So that's our gin. I like it. I enjoy it. I think it tastes good. Mm-hmm. Makes a really good gin and soda water with lime.
It almost has a cocktail
It's flavorful.
essence by itself.
And it's
yeah.
smooth.
without mixing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good, man.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Everything comes through. It definitely on the nose. I got more of the peppercorn, which I liked. I don't want it to be spicy.
Well, all the way on the back end too, I'm still tasting a little bit of that
Pepper.
peppercorn
Just a little
coming
bit.
in
The
there.
pepper
But it's
Pepper
not,
lingers.
Doesn't add heat to it, which is
no,
nice.
no, it's just the flavor of the peppercorn,
Tons
but
of
not
flavor.
like the
I guess like the bite of the spice.
Bite, yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
No, that's great, and you get a lot of the citrus, that lemony
Yeah.
flavor to it as well.
The
Hell yeah.
orange and the lemon, yeah.
I love it.
Dude.
Well, I know you've got a busy day ahead of you.
I do.
I apologize for keeping you for so long. I know we said
No, it's
30
fine.
minutes.
It's fine. I got
but-
like 4 other products I didn't even bring. So if you come by the distillery, we have a canned cocktail called the California Mule. It's made with like California Clear.
I've had those. Those things are
They're
amazing,
candy.
dude. Yeah.
And, it's made with Cock and Bull. We actually joined with Cock and Bull. It took
Nice.
us 3 years of emailing Cock and Bull to try to get. And the owner said, "I'll be in Palm Springs. I know where Redlands at. I'll come by." So this guy comes up to the door, and I said, "Hey, that was at the old location, just a little podunk,
Yeah.
hole in the wall, right?" And I said, "Before you walk in here, Dan," I said, "I'm gonna make you a mule. If it's not in your top 5 for flavors, like you don't enjoy it, then we won't do this deal. I really want to use your product. I want to partner with you." So we're the only product outside of Cock and Bull that can use the Cock and Bull label on our product.
That's
Wow,
so sick.
that's
Yeah, so-
rad.
I love their ginger beer.
Oh, it's the best. So they come in. He comes in. He's like 80 years old. No, maybe 70. He's an older gentleman. Dan Meyer is his name. Really cool guy. Comes in. I said, "I'm gonna make you this mule. You know the deal." So I make him the mule. He sips it. He pauses. He looks at me. He goes, "It's number 3." I said, "Really?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "All right, let's do it." He's like, "All right." So now they sell me their ingredients, and I make the Cock and Bull the way they make it. He came out 3 times, showed us how to make it. I have a big bright tank, and then we do it. And so he showed me all that stuff, and it was kind of a cool story for me.
Yeah,
insane,
dude, that's
dude.
really cool.
So he let us use. We were actually the first ones to use the original 1948 logo. He goes, "We're switching our logo to this. I want you to use it." So we put it on the back of our can.
that's
And the can looks like a hammered copper can.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's got a mule with a yoke, hanging its head out, and it's kind of cool. It
That
says
rules.
it's made with like California Clear, and Cock and Bull. and then we add lime juice to it. And it's just it's a 4-pack for $15, but it's really 8 drinks. Because if you take a pint glass, you fill it full of ice, pour half a can, and then you have a full glass of the California Mule.
Well, and that California Clear is a great mixing whiskey,
it's great.
dude.
I love that. You could do so much
everything
with
at that.
And that's basically the California Clear is the same recipe as our bourbon.
It's just unaged.
It's unaged, and then we do a slow drip carbon filter process. It takes 5 days to do 40 gallons.
Almost
okay.
like a.
It drips like just like this, and it's 5 days, and then
almost like that Tennessee
kind of like
charcoal distillation.
The Lincoln way.
The Lincoln filtering process or whatever.
Maple charcoal filter.
Yeah, trip.
So we kind of do that, but on the back end, and then it goes to proof, and then we add it to the cock and bull. So
that's bitching, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude.
I'm stoked to hear that. I mean, that has to be so validating. You know what I mean? To have a dude come in and be like,
you're the only one that gets to do it.
Cock and bull.
Exactly.
It's
That's
insane.
huge.
Like he came to my
worldwide.
little podunk place, and it's like
Redlands, stand up, let's go.
That's right.
It was cool for me. It was a cool experience. I mean, he's such a good guy. So I'm very blessed to have him do that for us because it's
100%.
And people buy the hell out of them. Like we sell 4-packs and we have a fridge and all that stuff, and we have the cocktails to go and all that stuff. So it's kind of cool.
It's on, dude. I didn't know that existed. Next time I'm over there, I'm gonna pick up some because I want to try it.
They're so good, especially in the heat. Just sit by the pool, crack it open, pour it over ice in a glass.
Let's
and just enjoy.
go.
Yes, it's really good.
Well, Jason, thank you so much, man. We're gonna wrap up. It's about time.
Okay.
You've done more than educate us on all of your products, and we're so happy to see that you're flourishing here in Redlands. And if there's anything we could do, if we can link up, we could do some art shows or whatever. Let's make it happen. Let's totally build the community. But really appreciate you coming and talking to us, man.
Yeah, we're real big on helping anybody out. Like let's promote everything. Like we're doing we have dueling piano shows. We do a bunch of stuff at the distillery.
Yeah, your live music and events that you have there are great, man. I've been to a couple of them, and
they're fun.
Even just the acoustic guitar guy that you have go that plays
Saturday
covers
nights.
and stuff. He's great, man.
Yeah, and then we'll have next time let's do another one where you guys come to the distillery and film.
Yeah,
and we could talk about the equipment, what it does.
Oh, that'd be great.
We would love to do kind of like in your world, not this setup, and use it for content on both our ends, and build something out of it.
Yeah, because I've designed and had my buddy build a bunch of the equipment, so it's my own science lab.
Right, it's a little bit of your own trademark design.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so it's an ugly still we call Kong.
Oh yeah, you have to name the still.
Yeah,
you got to name the still.
It's Kong, and then we have the mash tun is Tyler. We have Juanita, who is the boiler that we made, and then we have Swampy, who's this water chiller that I made to not waste water and stuff, to kill condensers and stuff like that. So it's kind of different world over there.
Dude, yeah.
We definitely
for sure
we'll make it a whole day. That's awesome.
Yeah, we'll do something.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, man.
Thank you.
I'm gonna wrap this up
man.
real quick.
Where can people find you? What's the address of the distillery?
420 Oriental Avenue in Redlands, California, 92374.
And on Instagram?
On Instagram, J Riley Distillery. Same with Facebook.
And awesome. I'm assuming jrileydistillery.com.
Nope, jrileydistillery.com is not it. It's jrileyspirits.com.
J Riley Spirit. Oh yeah. Makes sense.
Cool. Well, this has been another episode of the Rat Nest Podcast. You can catch us every week on Fridays on YouTube and wherever you get your audio podcasts every week. Go to ratneststickerco.com for shirts, stickers, prints, zines, and more. Jim, am I missing anything?
I'm drunk.
Lasso Jim. Jim Lasso.
Jimmy Lasso.
Jimmy Lasso. Thanks, dude.
Oh, that was great, man. Awesome. Thanks, that was awesome.
Enjoy the spirits.
Absolutely. That is too kind of you, man. No, seriously.
I make a lot of